Movie meals, Weaver Wire. This is the podcast. We're going live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That'll be 6 PST. I don't know the rest of them. But we're here. We're live. It's just a chance for the lights to always go weird, which I'll work on eventually, and for me to just get to ramble, talk about news, talk about whatever I want. I am going to be honest, I'm not feeling 100% today, so I might just see how the stream goes. If we get enough people, I'll keep it going, try to power through. If it doesn't, I might end it even earlier, maybe at 30 minutes or something like that. But let's just get into some thoughts and things I have that I want to talk about. And number one is something I want to talk about, and that is some Star Wars news. I think I've worn this shirt every time, and I haven't meant to, but I think I have. I guess I wear it, wash it. By next Tuesday, I'm like, oh hey, oh sure, this would be a fun shirt to wear again. But anyway, yeah. So this is the podcast, just me having a good time. Please ask questions at any point throughout it. Anybody who pops up in the live chat, I'll try to answer them and do my best. But here we are. So I want to talk about this, a couple different pieces of news. One, Kathleen Kennedy, producer for Lucasfilm, comes out and says, we will absolutely have a female director. No, hang on, let me grab this. We will absolutely have a female director for a Star Wars film. I can't remember if she says the next Star Wars film or just a film in general. And I think this is incredible news. I think it's smart news, but I think it just depends on who it is. I think, Deborah Chow was the first woman to direct anything Star Wars. I loved that. I loved what she brought to it. And it made me very excited for her and ObiWan. I'd be all right seeing her jump to the big screen. If she's got the right story to tell. I think there's a lot of great directors. A Catherine Bigelow would be really interesting. And everybody's going to laugh at this, but man, you get a Greta Gerwig. I mean, that would be insane. I think that'd be amazing. Get her in this high budget stuff. I completely doubt she wants to do a movie like this, a Star Wars film, let alone. There's so much intensity on it. But it would be interesting to see somebody of her craft jump up, be involved in writing and things like that. Although I don't know if she's a big fan, past just, the kind of film, she's probably at a base level at least that I would know of a fan of just what Star Wars did for cinema at the time when it came out. Obviously, she's a completely far-fetched, out of left field choice. A Catherine Bigelow would be amazing. Ava DuVernay, I'd be a little more hesitant with, just because I've loved what she's done on television. I did love Selma, but I did not like Wrinkle in Time. So her last big movie I didn't love, but her last show I adored, When They See Us. So I would be interested for her, but I would be a little bit more reserved and hesitant. But just pull the Kevin Feige move. Go find the right storytellers. That's why Greta Gerwig pops into my head. Go find a storyteller. Because I think that's right now what Star Wars is lacking. Yes, we've had great storytellers. We have great fans. If Greta is like deep-seated, a deep fan, that's fine. But you can get a good storyteller. They just need to hire somebody to help with the canon. That's the big problem in Star Wars we've had, is they need somebody who should have been in charge all along. What a Kevin Feige does for Marvel, who's a big fan of the property and says, no, you can't do this, you can't do that because it would mess with this in canon, but we could do this. This is a cool idea. They need somebody like that. So I'm not opposed to a non-massive fan coming in for a movie, as long as they have somebody to guide them with what does matter. And hey, if this is a movie that's taking place thousands of years from now, there's probably not much canon to mess with. Because you can avoid the Revans and the Banes. You don't have to do them if you go to the past. So that would be interesting. She's a name that I would really, really like to see. I think a couple of those would be good. Or, oh, why am I'm blanking on her name right now? The woman who is making Wonder Woman. Why can't I think of Patty Jenkins? Patty Jenkins. She would be phenomenal. She's proven herself that she can handle the nerd stuff. She can play in the big sandbox with everybody else, and she can do a big budget film. She can be creative. She can be fun with it. I think that'd be awesome. It'd be really cool if, and I don't think a woman director coming in needs to do a movie that involves female lead. I don't think that's necessary. Not that I wouldn't love to see it. I think that'd be amazing if you get one of these directors to do an Ahsoka movie. Oh, I'm throwing my money at you. But, you know, if she did an Obi-Wan movie, I'd be very excited, just as excited as I would for that as well. Or a Bane, a Revan, because I think any talented director can tap into that. As long as they can put people around them to help with the canon, if they're not huge on it, that's all I need. But so yeah, so I really like this news of that we are getting a female director. It does make me curious. Is Kathleen Kennedy sticking around? Is all this kind of hope a lot of fans have? Is she is going to have Skywalker be her swan song? She's out of here. Something I have talked about that I am for, that I think is going to happen. Not that, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is one of the greatest producers of all time. She has been involved with some of the best all-time great classic films. So would I want her to stay? I don't know. I think she's made quite a few hits, so I would be okay with it, but a lot more hesitant than if she steps down and Kevin Feige came in. Obviously, just off of what Kevin Feige's resume now has. But I mean, I still really like Force Awakens. Still really like Last Jedi. Really enjoy Solo for what it is. I had a great time with Rogue One, and I think. Skywalker is just, it's the weakest of the bunch, in my opinion. I've talked at length about it, but I still do find a lot I do enjoy out of it, even if there's a lot I'm very frustrated with. So Kathleen Kennedy, from a financial standpoint, has nothing but hits, except for Solo, which would be considered a miss. Which is not her fault, I don't think at all. I think it's Big Bob's fault. I think he put it out after Endgame in the summer. It didn't work. I think you keep it, that exact movie, you put that in Christmas. I think that movie maybe doesn't make $1 billion, but it makes money back at least. Anyway, so yeah, those are my thoughts with Kathleen Kennedy. I think a female director is a great choice if she is doing the next movie. I'm all right with that, but this is a good transition and segue into some of the other rumors going around right now, which is that Obi-Wan is being halted because it's actually going to become a movie. That they're going to take those scripts, cut them down, not expand them or change them or keep them in show format. They're going to make it a film and then just have Deborah Chow or somebody else come in to just take what they've already kind of started with production and turn that into a film. And that will be the next movie. I do not like this as much. I do want an Obi-Wan movie, but I also love the idea of an Obi-Wan show. Give me 6, 7, 8 hours with Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine and running around the galaxy. I'll eat that up. Obi-Wan's my favorite character. But if a movie as well, I would love. But you could do both. We can do a show for a couple seasons and then do a movie. I mean, Ian McGregor clearly loves the character. Clearly has been wanting to do it, and he's the type of guy who could pull out a good trilogy and a couple seasons. He would want to. It'd be cool to really see him transition into Alec Guinness's version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a little bit older, and I think that would be really, really cool to have. I think I do think Deborah Chow deserves to direct this. I think she has done a great job, even if they're not super happy apparently with the writing. But if this is being halted for a movie, I am a little bit disappointed, because I have now built up in my head that I am getting 6, 7, 8 hours of Obi-Wan, and that's what I want. Is this long drawn out Obi-Wan show? Guys, don't forget, put comments down below. I've seen people be fluctuating in and out. Jump in, talk about whatever you want, any topic. We can jump around. We don't have to talk about Star Wars, but if not, I'm just going off of the news I've got and things I want to talk about. But yeah, so that's what I love about. That's not what I meant to say. I think Deborah Chow would do a great job, and I think Deborah Chow deserves to keep the project and not get kicked off of it. And I hope that these scripts are maybe she wrote Darth Maul in, and somebody said we can't do that. It is against what we have done in Rebels, and that's what they're fixing. Maybe it's figuring out Vader, how to get Vader involved, because I think Vader in the Obi-Wan show would be incredible, and I think it works. I think they can have meetings before that long meeting again with Luke. But I also would like to see the Force kind of cause some memory struggles a little bit in Obi-Wan, because he does talk about how I haven't heard the name Obi-Wan in so long. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. The Force is, I've got to kind of reawaken myself with it. I kind of like that version we get with episode 4, and I wouldn't mind to see that the Force kind of plays a part in that, which would help the age, so that he's not just always running around, that maybe he cuts himself off, and so those memories fade. He kind of goes with Luke to, or yeah, how Luke does it in episode 8, and I think that'd be a cool storyline. I don't think they're halting for a movie, which apparently it's good backing of people in Hollywood. Some people who have connections that believe this, others who do not. I am for either way. I just want my Obi-Wan thing. It has made no sense why Obi-Wan has not been on the big screen again. The actor who plays the young version of him is widely considered the best part of the prequels that people don't like very much. He actively wants to do it. There are stories there to tell. The man's not sitting on a desert planet the whole time. Again, there's a great novel that I am forgetting in the Legends, which again, I am a big believer. If you love a lot of the Legends stuff, go love it. There is a lot of bad stuff in Legends, though. There's a lot of weird stuff. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of craziness. But one of the few stories I remember reading as a kid was about Obi-Wan and how he had learned pretty quickly after episode 3 that there was a Jedi or a Padawan that was being hunted and hiding on this specific planet. He heard it from the cantina, and so he makes the decision to leave Luke and leave protecting a young Luke a couple years later to go find him, and ends up confronting Vader. I think Maul, if I remember right, in that story as well. But it's been 15 years since I've read that, if not longer. That's a great story idea. I think that's awesome. I think if we could have him go after somebody, because he's not the type to just leave. I'd love to see bring Liam Neeson back and have him actually train him on how to show us a little bit more of this plane they show in Rebels, the world in between worlds, of what the Force can really do, that we can really control more than just floating rocks. It's time, it's life, things like that. That's one of the better parts of Rise of Skywalker and Duel of Fates, since it sounds like that's where JJ took the idea, was from Colin, to use the Force as life energy to give and take life. I think that is a cool way to use the Force. We've seen it project. We've seen it do a lot of interesting things where it's connected minds. Why not? And we've seen time in Rebels. Spoiler for Rebels. Don't know why you're watching, a big Star Wars fan and still listening if you don't love Rebels, but that's really interesting. Go check that out if you haven't, because Rebels is awesome. By the way, I'm going to do Clone Wars stuff when the Clone Wars show drops. I'm actually rewatching the last couple seasons right now I've gotten to, so I'm trying to catch up by the time that the new season airs, so I can just watch it, because I'm really, really hyped for the end of that. But let's transition here. Remember, guys, throw comments in. I'm doing all right now. Under the lights is kind of making me feel a little worse. I'm a little under the weather, pretty under the weather for that matter. But I want to transition into the Oscars. Get a little talk with the Oscars with no Kyle around, because Kyle likes to poo-poo on my ideas. I'm just kidding. Well, sometimes. Depends on what we're arguing about. If it's Fast and Furious, we'll argue all the live long day. And this, which is the Oscars with not having a host. I'm going to throw that out there. Oscars get a host. It's more fun. I like seeing a comedian roast them. I think it offers a really cool way for us to stay engaged. I also was thinking today, everybody complains the Oscars are too long. They're too long of a show. They're 3.5 hours, 3.5 hours, sometimes 4 hours, it feels like. Well, here, where I live, it starts at 6. So we're done about 9:30. I think in the past it has started at 7 my time, so I'm done at 10:30. The Oscars should start at like 4. Like 4:30, or 5 my time, which would make it 5 my time for California, if they started at 4. And I just don't know why they don't. I think people who want to really watch are going to watch no matter what time it's at. And I think you might get a few more viewers if, like, they came home from work and were chilling and relaxing or getting ready for dinner, and they're like, let's throw the Oscars on. And that way, I think people will watch 3 hours. People just don't want to be up from till 10:30 or 11, especially on a Sunday. So if you started at 4 or 5, I mean, 6 isn't bad, but even 9, it's like, man, I don't really have much else to do. But if the show starts at 4, you're done by 7:30. You got a couple hours to hang out and do other things. That's a big. I think that's what the Oscars needs to do. It's not necessarily trying to cut down the little bits of time and speed that show up. I think that is part of it, but I think really we just started earlier. What else is everybody watching on ABC on a Sunday in the middle of February when nothing really is going on? I don't get that. Start at 4. The Super Bowl started at 4:30. It was the biggest thing in the whole world. Started at 4:30. Oscars, I fixed it for you. Get a host and start it earlier. Also, Kyle and I will make a prediction video going into next or this Saturday. I've got actually a list I'm looking at right here. There's a lot of stuff I think is very close. I'm not going to give any of my final predictions here, but like even Best Picture, I think is closer than people think between a couple of these movies. I think director honestly could go either way. I would not be surprised to see any of these people win. And if like Bong Joon-ho wins, then all of a sudden you're like, is Parasite gonna win Best Picture? Like, you know, if Sam Mendes was like, are they gonna win, or vice versa? Will they not win Best Picture because they won Best Director? I think a lot of the main stuff is set, like the actors and things like that. Original score, I'm just, for this, guys, please throw comments in, change the subject to whatever the heck you want. Just ask me a question. But original, I just want to ramble on some thoughts that I know I'm not going to be able to get to in the full prediction thing I'm doing with Kyle. I'll probably touch on some of the stuff, but like original score is just going to go to Rise of Skywalker. That, you know, is widely considered the critic worst of all these movies that are nominated, but John Williams says he's not doing any more Star Wars movie. Is he going to get nominated again? Is it going to end up being a Lifetime Achievement Oscar? Or is it going to go to a 1917 or a Little Women or a Marriage Story? Really interesting. Original songs are real interesting because I have no idea who could win that. I'd give it to Into the Unknown. Give it to Into the Unknown or Love Me Again from Rocket Man. The sound editing and mixing is really interesting because usually there's been this trend in the last couple years where we've seen a movie that's nominated for both win both, and it looks like Ford v Ferrari is nominated for both sound editing and mixing. 1917, Joker, and Once Upon a Time are all. So will one win the other, or maybe like a Rise of Skywalker who has sound editing maybe get nominated while an Ad Astra wins sound mixing? I don't know, real interesting. First year in a while, I remember so many, and maybe I'm just forgetting last year. Last year was a forgettable Oscars to me. I mean, I remember some of the big heavy hitter Best Pictures and things like that, but for the most part, it was kind of a weak year. I think a movie like Peanut Butter Falcon, a Honey Boy, things like that come out. If they came out last year, I think they're contenders for sweeps of the Oscars. Like makeup's real interesting. It's a lot of these short films. I've tried to watch a lot of these short films. I am going to talk real briefly about animated feature because with no Frozen 2, Toy Story 4 I like fine enough. Missing Link I did not see, and honestly I didn't think it was going to be considered that good. It did not get a great audience score from Rotten Tomatoes, but again, I think the audience score needs to be taken with a big grain of salt because I think it's just people who really love movies who want to also voice their opinion. Klaus is by far, or Klaus, however you want to say it, is by far to me the best animated movie of last year. If you have not seen it, I still recommend you go see it just because it's not the holiday season. It is about Santa Claus, kind of, but I do not care. It is incredible. I thought that was the best, by far the best movie, the animated movie of the year. And then I saw I Lost My Body just like a week or two ago, which I didn't realize was on Netflix. I had not heard about it till mid-December and then got a little busy, kind of forgot about it. Kyle kind of reminded me about it. And it is absolutely incredible. And it should win the best animated feature, I think, by far. Or maybe not by far, because I think Klaus is really that good. But I think those two are leading the pack by a long shot. I would rank these: I Lost My Body, Klaus, How to Train Your Dragon, then probably Toy Story, and then Missing Link, just because I haven't seen it. But I do not think Toy Story deserves it. I don't think, I haven't seen Missing Link. I'm going to assume that I wouldn't change my mind. How to Train Your Dragon, I think the last one was beautiful and amazing, but I Lost My Body there was something special about it. And like the director of Parasite said, Bong Joon-ho, is that if we can get past subtitles, if most people can get past, an inch of words at the bottom, you're exposed to a lot of different incredible films. And I Lost My Body is so interesting. It's so creative. It's so devastating. I think it deserves to win. But I think Klaus is a really big shot there. And I would like to see Klaus win. A couple other things. I don't want to get into. I did get a little too into the animated. I don't want to get too much into a lot of this, just because I do want to save that for the video with Kyle that will be this weekend. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. Visual effects will be really interesting to see if like the Lion King wins it. I don't think the Lion King should. I have watched a couple of the short films I really liked, the NEFTA Football Club, Brotherhood, Neighbor's Window I really liked. Just real interesting. And the Oscars, Kyle and I have gotten in this debate a little bit too, where the Oscars, they don't mean as much to him once you get, kind of see the sometimes the whitewashing and the old men stigma around it. It's just, does it really mean a lot? And I'm going with absolutely. I think the Oscars means a whole great deal. There was a time where I was considering, do I want to go to Hollywood and do acting and voice acting and things like that? And to win an Oscar would, be a dream for me. And I think for a lot of these people, it is. I think it's, yes, we have turned art into a competition. Kind of, and I'm okay with that because I like competition. Do I think that they do sway a lot of ways a lot of the time? Yes. Like, does an Endgame deserve to be in here? In my opinion, absolutely. I think Endgame deserves to be in a lot of these categories. I think Robert Downey Jr. outdid a lot of these actors up for Best Actor. And I think that the score was incredible. I know Kyle and I discussed should it have gotten in over Rise of Skywalker. I like the Rise of Skywalker being in there. I think John Williams did a great job using that score, changing the score, the themes we've seen. But I also loved, I would believe it was Danny Elfman. Was it Danny Elfman? I'm going to check. I loved what he did with Endgame as well, especially the portal scene. Endgame composer... Alan Silvestri, excuse me. I should have known that because I should have. Do I think those deserve nominations? Absolutely. Honey Boy, Peanut Butter Falcon should have been in here. But what I still just love this. I love that there are people, and people don't always realize it's not. Yes, there's now it's like 9,000 members of the Academy. I kept saying 6, but I've been hearing a lot of people say no, it's actually around like 9,000 now, and they have added a lot to make it more diverse than it has ever been, and we're still working to make it even better because I still think the white man stigma, the old white man stigma, is still there, but I think it is getting a little bit more diverse, and I don't think that critics should be forced to see every single movie, or voting members should be forced to see every single movie that comes out this year that is eligible. Do I think the seasons and the kind of the politics of it are very interesting, and I think it's fun to watch and fun to see what happens? Absolutely. A movie like Us, which a lot of people like, the Lupita Nyong'o is her. I don't love the movie Us. I think it's good, but I didn't love it as much as Get Out. But Lupita was incredible with her performance, and I'm not going to take anything away from her. Does she deserve to be in here with some of these other actresses in leading roles? I think absolutely. I did not see Harriet. I'd put her in over Harriet just because I didn't see it. But I also didn't see it, but apparently a lot of the voting members did. It's just curious, what do people watch? They get sent screeners, but it's the actresses who vote for the actresses. So the actresses in the Academy vote, the actors vote, the composers vote. So you'd think that what they do is they say, oh, Alan Silvestri did Endgame. I really enjoyed it. You'd think that they would know because they're in the business, they're friends, hopefully they know each other. So that's always just kind of my thing with the Oscars. I think it absolutely still has all its its promise behind it. I think being an Academy Award winner does mean a lot. I think sometimes, yes, the politics do boggle it down a little bit. I think there are weak years that make it struggle a little bit. I think because there was a time when it was just like it seemed like any young actress who delivered a very great performance, but there was a time where it was like, all right, now it's this person's turn and this person's turn, and it kind of happened with the actors a little bit too, where that's kind of the way it felt, as if we were trying to be more hip to the people, to give it to people that the people know. And I think they've gotten a little bit more away from that, and it's now become who is the best performer of the year in a lot of people's eyes. I wish they would release the numbers, because I think that would be incredibly interesting, but I think it still has a lot of merit, especially for sound editing and sound mixing, for these people that did the editing for Rise of Skywalker and the sound, if that ended up winning. To have worked for hours and hours and hours, and suddenly out of nowhere, people are saying, you know, you voted for your movie, and then all of a sudden you realize a lot of people really liked what I did in my movie, and then the next thing you know, you've won an Oscar, and they're saying, no, out of the 300 movies that came out this year, you made what we all consider, the collective of us composers, of us editors, of us actors, we all consider you to be the best, and that they won the voting, and that they got the first majority vote. I think that means a lot, and I think it should mean a lot. We do give recognition to, I mean, the Oscars gives recognition to some of the documentary shorts, foreign and things like that, and I think that's great. It introduces you to movies like Parasite, with how incredible Parasite is. I mean, it has a 99% of Rotten Tomatoes. I think when people see that, they go, well, this is interesting. It gives the Oscars, if Parasite wins Best Director, it's going to win Best Foreign Film. If it wins Best Picture, people are going to go, what is this movie? I got to check this out. Because it's now an Academy Award winner, and it helps those smaller movies too. Yes, the bigger movies need a little bit more love, like an Endgame. But I'm also okay with it. I mean, I'm maybe not okay with it is the right way to do it, but I get that maybe a lot of the voters just said, no, it was really good, but like, Marty's right. And I do think Marty didn't help. What's up, Dave? Love having you in here, man. I saw Parasite in theater. I know they played it where you're at briefly for like a day. I think Nick ran and to see it with Kyle or something pretty quick on the fly, but please go check it out when it hits some sort of platform, or when you get a shot, if it comes back to theaters or anything, Dave, because it is incredible. I went and saw it, Parasite, by myself. There was like 5 other people in a very tiny theater, and I was blown away with how much I loved it. It is an amazing, amazing movie. But I think that's the important of the Oscars. It's going to give recognition to a movie a lot of people might not have seen, and then that company that owns the distribution rights can say, let's go throw it out. Let's go put it back in theaters one more time and go see if we can make more money off of it, and people will recognize it. I think it really does help movies like that. Uncut Gems, I did also see. Whew, talk about a nerve-wracking movie. Holy cow. Talk about a nerve-wracking movie. That movie, the whole time, I am so anxious, sitting on the edge of my seat, and just like, it's like a lot to take in. And then like the 1 minute that movie is like, let's take a breath. Let's let our heart calm down for a second. It kicks right back into gear with the climax of the film. That movie's amazing. Was that a snub for the Oscars? Absolutely. I think it was a snub for the Oscars. Did it deserve to be there? Absolutely, it deserved to be there. I think Adam Sandler was better than some. I loved Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I put Adam Sandler in over him. I did finally watch Two Popes. I thought Jonathan Pryce was fine. I'd absolutely put Adam Sandler above him. Pain and Glory I still have yet to see. But, I mean, it's things like that. It's that the voting members, the actors, apparently saw Pain and Glory and decided it was amazing, which I hear it's incredible, and it's Banderas' best role ever, and it's amazing. But clearly the actors saw it, and they didn't care for Uncut Gems. Maybe it was too crazy. Maybe they didn't see it. I don't think they should be forced to watch every movie, because I think that's impossible. I think if you became a member and then I told you have to watch 320 movies this year, you'd be like, I have to watch a movie almost a day. I don't have that kind of time. And it's like, so neither do they. But they get around to a lot of them. I mean, I saw 80 movies in the theater this year. I mean, there's snubs that I have. There are ones that make sense to me. Ford v Ferrari got like no love in the actors, and they were incredible. I'd put a Christian Bale and Matt Damon over a Jonathan Pryce. No offense to Jonathan Pryce, he did a great job, but I just didn't like his performance as much. I thought it just depends on what the voting body does. And again, I'd love to see the numbers. How close was a Christian Bale to the top 5? Did he miss out by a vote? That's just what I would like to know. Show us the numbers, Academy. I want you to show us the numbers. But anyway, I will get much more into it. I did want to go on more of a rant here because I know that Kyle and I will be a lot more crunched for time, and I want that to be about the bigger categories. We are going to be doing a pool. We'll be doing a recap video after as well on Sunday night. So please, everybody, watch out for that. I think I am going to end a bit early just because I am not feeling well, and being under the lights for a while has just made my head even worse. So, Dave, thank you for being here, brother, for the whole time. I love it. I just love rambling and talking, as you know, working with you for 3-4 years. So, but I am going to end this, guys. Check me out every Wednesday or every Tuesday. We're going to be at this time. But I am going to call the stream here just because I'm not feeling super great. I will see you next week. I'll probably do even more Oscar talk on Tuesday when I get a real shot. But please go to the playback, do all that great stuff. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom. And we'll see you guys. Thank you for letting me end a little early here today. Watch back on the playback.